Okay, for those just getting started with xLights, want to see how to do a quartet sequence, or just go ahead and get everything set up for quartet. Here's xLights. This is the latest version as of this morning. This is a November 4th edition for 2015. Open up xLights. Lightorama has to be on the first segment of channels, and then after that is you're going to start your actual DMX universes. Then you usually stack on your pixels afterwards. I happen to have everything going through a E131 bridge, and I have my controllers actually running in DMX mode. But regardless of how that's set up, it's the way the channels are actually configured right now within Lightorama. They're actually, I can show you the channel configurations here. Okay, here is my channel configurations for how I have everything set up right now. As you can see, I have my channel first controller for my trees 1 and 2 is 0A 1 through 16, and then for trees 3 and 4 it's 0B. So I'm not starting off at the very beginning on the LOR setup. Okay, so you can see that. So getting started with a quartet, first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and try to say a new sequence, musical sequence. I'm going to go ahead and find my music file. Okay, here's my music file. If it needs to be an MP3 format, but it's also a good idea when you start doing this that you go ahead and open up Audacity, open your MP3 file, and then resave it. Make sure you save it as a constant stream. A lot of times when you download these, they're actually a variable, and when you go to start playing this, when you go to play midway through the song, it'll actually be you wonder why it's offset on your actual timing. And that's the reason why, is because it's not a consistent bit rate, so it doesn't actually start the exact same point every single time. This is a fresh sequence we're starting up. Okay, so that gets us started. Now on my models, models are basically your props. Okay, so normally with Lightorama, one of the confusing parts is you basically just set your channels. Let's just say new sequence, just to mess around with something. Okay, you just have your numbers like this. Well, xLights doesn't operate the same way. What you do is you build a model, and then you start modifying that. So, for example, on my trees, here is my model right here. Now, when you look at the actual numbers, when you start from the bottom of the Lightorama interfaces for the network, you're going to start at 1, but because I'm starting at 0A, when you actually do the math, it starts off at number 45. This is tree number 1, and so I basically just built this in and said custom. So I built a little custom model, put the numbers in this like a little Excel style input page here. And so these are the actual channel numbers starting at number 145. There's 8 channels for this. So here, number 1 is the outline, number 2 is the top of the eyes, number 3 is the base of the eyes, 4 is the top of the mouth, 5 is the mid lip, 6 is the bottom lip, 7 is the circle, and 8 is the oval. We go in here to names. You also have, I have the names set right here, so you can see that's actually what I call them as well. And then here is your translation points that I'm utilizing. These can be modified as needed. Sometimes you need a little more emphasis on one particular style over another. What I usually do is I have this basically set this way, and then when I get going on my actual quartet for the lyrics, if I need more emphasis using, like, say, an oval instead of a circle, then what I'll do is I'll change either a U or an O to an L. That way I still get the oval. But the way this is set up right now on my setup, oval doesn't happen all that often. Oval is usually just on the L's. It just really depends on what we're trying to do. Okay. So this is part of my display, and then if you look at the other trees, you'll notice the next one starts at 153. The next one starts at 161. The next one starts at 169, but it's the same design. And then what you do, you can create a view, modify your view. and then you basically just add your models to it. So the way if you right click in here and you say edit display properties, and you'll bring up this little window, and here's the views that you have, and then you can go ahead and add your models in that you've already created. So the first thing you have to do is create your models, and then go ahead and add it into your display point here, so that way you can actually go between your various items, so it makes it easier. This is kind of similar to using tracks within Lightorama. Okay, so for those that need to import a Lightorama Quartet sequence that's already been done for you, you go up to import effects, and then from here you can go ahead and select your Lightorama sequence, so the .lms file. And so this is one that I've already worked on, the 12 Pains of Christmas, for example. And so from here, what you're going to do is you need to go ahead and add models that you're going to go ahead and import in. Okay, so go ahead and import it, and then what you do is you say, okay, here's the Lightorama. I'm sorry. This is the xLights stuff here, and then what you're going to have to do is map this to the actual channels you have set up within xLights. Once you have this set up and built, what you can do is you actually save the mapping, so the next time you do it, you just go ahead and just dump it in. So I happen to have mine already done. Here's my tree map, and I will go ahead and make this tree map available for all the sequences that are on my blog. So that way you can just go ahead and import them straight into xLights. So here's the mapping that's already been done. So now as soon as you drop this in, if you open this up, you'll see it has all the parts that has been dumped in. As soon as you render it, it'll go ahead and fill in the gaps. And then now, when you go to play it, so there you go. So getting started, and you can go ahead and importing in, and then the next part I'll show is how to actually do the actual phenom matching within xLights. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create some tracks now. Add a new track. Let's go ahead and call this one full. Mid one. Delete this old one. And create another. Okay, so these are basically kind of like the timing mark tracks within Lightorama. The difference here is on xLights, you can actually see all of them at once and manipulate them very easily. I'm going to go ahead and just get started here. So we have our track. Okay, so in order to get started with this, you have to select your tracks. I'm going to do this without using Audacity or any other outside programs. This is all going to be internal here. So the way I'm going to do this, you select one of your tracks and get ready on your T button in order to create your timing marks. Okay, so now what I can do here is I can go in, I can double click this, and I can edit the label, and then I can go ahead and just type it in and start putting in the lyrics. Okay, so I went ahead and added a couple of these in here for the labels, and then you see what this is. Okay, so now you can obviously, I have this one set up, but basically the intent is to have all of them singing this at once, and then I can go ahead and switch between these two during the song when it's for individual parts. That way, if there's any overlap, I can just all rotate between these two. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to my other timing mark channel here. Okay, so now what I can do here is I can go ahead and type in Now, once you start getting your lyrics in here, what you're going to do is right-click on this and say Breakdown Phrase. Now, the first time you do this, it's going to take a few moments because it's actually loading the Papagayo program dependencies, so it doesn't load it all up at once. That way, the program loads faster when you first open it. Once you go ahead and do that, it'll go ahead and it'll break down the words and it'll open up the dictionary. Basically, within each word, there's part of the dictionary that has a phenom in order to be able to make that particular word set. The easiest way to do this now is to go ahead and zoom in and then play it a couple times. So when you're going through this, you can go ahead and grab this. You can adjust it like this, or if you want to move it to where it's like this, you gotta use the when it's got the finger on there. And I can also show you how to move the whole section once you get the timing and marks the way we want it. So you can tell it doesn't start until right about here. Let's go ahead and slide this over. Okay. So this is what we basically have to do. So there's more emphasis on Christmas here. So I have to slide that out. Okay. Okay, so once you get your ballpark here, then what you can do here is, if you have this particular track selected, it makes it a little easier. Click in here, you highlight, say, break down the selected words, and then it goes ahead and breaks it down. Now, occasionally you'll get a word that is not in the dictionary. For example, this right here is that's, but apparently in the dictionary, that's normally has an apostrophe. So now if I go ahead and I can modify that and I say breakdown word, now it's there. Okay, so now what I can do here is I can go ahead and grab one of my tree faces. I can go ahead and drop it in right here. Okay, now that I already have a Papagayo channel built, I can go ahead and say for timing track, I want to use full. I want to use white. Okay. And I want to have my eyes on auto, and I want to show the outline. Okay, sorry about the small screen, but this is the basic premise behind this. I'm going to go ahead and close a couple of these here so you can see that a little bit better. So now what you have to do is you have to come in here and start modifying this down. What I do is I shorten the ETCs, especially when you have two of them right next to each other. The MBP as well. The F's and the L's, I try not to shrink as much. See, you also have, sometimes it's like on that, so you have two ETCs as part of the word, and then you have an AI. I may actually have to take one of those out in order to make it look right. We'll just go ahead and try that just for now. And then in the middle of this, you have more ETCs for the beginning of Christmas. Want more emphasis on the A. We'll go ahead and bring this down because I'm pretty sure we're going to need to. And this is what you need to do for each phenom on the entire track. But this is, for the most part, pretty easy when you have it in here. So just creating the timing tracks and getting this getting started. So now. So that looks pretty good. I may make some minor adjustments on that. Now, once you get this set up, it looks correct here. Now, the problem I have here is once you get started on this, what you have to remember is it's not going to look perfect every single time. Usually what I do is I go ahead and build it up and get it going, and then once I have the audio track set, I slide it over. I advance the track just a wee little bit. The reason why is because it may look about right, but it looks like it's lip syncing. You want it to look like the tree is actually singing it. So you have to advance the timing of it just a wee little bit. The easiest way to do that is when you have your track selected. The way you do this is when you have an arrow, you can click and select. And once you do this, I hold my shift key, and then I just slide it. Now what I have, because I have a timing mark right here, I have to either move this, or I'll just delete it. Okay, so delete that timing mark. So what I'm going to do now is I can go ahead and slide this, holding my shift key, using the hand. I can just slide it. I usually slide it like 2 clicks. So that looked. There you go. Okay. So then, from there, if you want to add your fade ins, fade outs, for example, for this guy, I can go ahead and say change this to a 3. I'm going to leave the fade out. I'm going to leave that in place because I'm going to go ahead and say fade out as well. And then I'm just going to drag this guy out so that way that's done all the way. Now, because I'm doing this, the intent is full, I'm going to add this to all of them, because they're all singing obviously in this part of the song. And then when the next part is going to start up, I'll go ahead and just reduce it down to just 1 or 2. So when you go into these, what you have to do is double check your track, and you also have to select the correct face definition for this respective prop. And the rest of the settings usually carry over. Okay. So now when I do this, it's going to actually light up all 4 trees. So that's like I accidentally moved that. There we go. So then when I get down to here, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll just drop in just one of these right here. I still have a fade out, fade in, fade out. So rigging up the lights, and then once I have this set up, this will be just for this one. So it'll fade out, and then just the one, and then I'll bring them back in and just sing them all together at the same time. Okay, so there's a number of things we can play around with on some of these phonemes here. Here's a piece I'm working on right now. Just to show you what that looks like right here. Looking at this one right here. Okay, so one of the problems with that particular clip right there is they're still making the O's sounds here, but the problem is there's nothing changing in between these. So one of the little tricks you can do is you can change this to, instead of an O, turn it into an owl. When you change this into an owl, what it's going to do is it's going to still give you the O, but it's also going to give you the L. So when I right click here and break down this word, so now I have an O and I have an L. So now what I can do is I can use that as a transition point. It doesn't help out too much at the very end, but it's very, very helpful towards the beginning of this particular set. So now, after modifying the timing of this just a wee little bit, using the O's and the L's. So I make real short L's. So these are my short L's right here. Here's the O's. So it looks a lot better now. So I'm going to go ahead and look at it like this. Make sure you look at the one on the right side.
that works out a little bit better. So now it actually looks a lot better for part of the actual singing, transitioning instead of just remaining constantly on the O sound.
Okay, so once you're done going through all of the sequencing for getting your quartet the way you want, for example, just make sure it looks good.
Finding parking spaces.
Daddy, I want some candy.
Donations.
Facing my in-laws.
5 months of bills.
So once you have it the way you want, what you're going to do is you obviously going to go ahead and hit make sure you save it several times throughout this whole process. What I do is I go ahead and go to convert. I'll go ahead and choose. Go ahead and grab my .fsq file from my xLights directory. Go ahead and select that. You're going to go ahead and say LOR sequence. You're going to go ahead and click on convert. And when you go ahead and do that, what you're going to have, actually go ahead and do that real quick. All of the models that you do have within xLights are going to go ahead and get mapped. So I only have 16 channels that I need for, 32 channels I need for a quartet, but I just outputted 7,100 channels. Obviously, that's not what I want. So now that I have my sequences done for this, I have to go through and basically clean them up. So here's my file. It came out as about 2 megs, 12 Pains of Christmas. Go ahead and open that up in Lightorama. And from here, I have to basically clean it up. I could use my file, no problem with that with xLights. But if you are insistent on using Lightorama for running your show, that's obviously fine. But what you're going to have to do is, if you have other channels, other models, like I do, you're going to have to clean these up as well. My channels for my trees actually start right here, channel 145, and that's because I'm starting my Lightorama on 0A. So what I do is I'll go ahead and go down to, and I'll just create a group, back up to the top, group these all together, the ones that are not part of my, they're not part of it. Oop, come on, where you at? Right in here. Convert to group. Get rid of all the other channels except for just the quartet. And again, this is the process that I go through for all the sequences that I have made available on my blog. And I believe I could probably also make this other file available as well. So then what I'll do from here, now that I got rid of all those other channels, I'll go ahead and do an import of channel configuration data. Here's my quartet one. Okay, so now I've done my little import, which I'll go ahead and make that particular file available for everybody as well. Just makes it just that much easier. Now when we go ahead and play this within LOR, first time it's obviously going to go ahead and analyze the media.
Sending Christmas cards. Hangovers. Rigging up the lights. And finding a Christmas tree.
So there you go. So that's from start to finish, getting doing your Papagayo sequencing for a quartet, because Papagayo is now built in fully to xLights, and how to go ahead and do all of that, and then the final result is getting it back into an LOR sequence for a holiday light show. Thanks for watching.